flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can recognize you, Janet, by your mask. So. All right, first item on the agenda this evening, welcome everyone first, and first thing after that is public comments. So this is the time, if you have a comment that's something that's not on the agenda, would be the time to come forth. We had one that filled out that they wanted to speak, but that doesn't mean that you're limited from not speaking if you'd like. So first we'll go with the one that signed up. Is it KT Prince, is that correct? Okay, would you just come forth, give us your name and and your address, please, and your comment.
I'm Katie Prince. Most of you already know me. Anyways, I live over in this obscure place that seems to be unknown to the city of Coos Bay as Eastside, Oregon. This place has been neglected quite a bit. I don't know. I live over there. I don't know why. I tried to move out of there. I should have. Anyways, there's some construction going on over there to do with which is nice, the new school over there. But the city has no, I don't know. I have not seen one city administrator. I have not seen any construction administrators. As many times I've been through the construction area over there for Knife River for what they're doing. Okay, there's oftentimes they jump out behind a truck and they stop you. There's no signs, there's no flaggers, and this chick just jumps out of a car behind you and then she screams and yells at you because you didn't stop because you didn't see the signs. Well, there's no signs there. Okay, so I asked her, where's the city contractor? Because apparently in front of the coach house and everything, the D Street, in front of, it's not D Street, 9th Street, in front of the coach house, in front of the O'Neill's and the baseball park and the Pepsi place. The city is doing that in tune with the school, the new school, which is beautiful. The school is nice. But there is absolutely no signage and nothing there to direct traffic. So I myself, I'm a commercial driver, and I have to haul a 90,000-pound truck up this little construction street right by O'Neill's, go up to this, if I make it up the hill, go down the hill behind Pepsi, and go down the hill, and then come out at 7th Avenue. And I have 80,000 pounds on. Who's going to fix that street? I don't know. How many of you live over there? How many of you been down that street?
I've been down it. I go down it frequently.
Okay, there's a few potholes in there.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute.
There's not just one or two. And I'm thinking, who's destroying these streets? No, this wingnut from Knife River is running us all up these streets. Okay, so you come down from Coos River. Heaven help you where you turn. There's three or four detour signs. I came up and over this one street. It was 3rd Avenue. I came up. I could not see over the top of my truck. This car in front of me disappeared. I could see the bead on the top of their car. Oh my God, they made a left turn. And I'm thinking, why is this car making the left turn? I'm hauling 80,000 pounds up and over this street. And I couldn't see this little bead in front of me. And there was...
Time? Your time is up.
Can you finish up in 30 seconds?
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to finish up a little bit?
I would like to.
Okay, can you do it in 30 seconds or a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
How come I have not yet seen a city administrator, let alone a state contractor there with an administrator there, controlling this woman that jumps out behind these dump trucks, that throws a stop sign on you, yelling at you to stop? And who's going to fix these city streets when they get done running these random heavyweight trucks over these roads? because I have yet to see any city trucks down there. I'm sorry, I haven't seen Mr. Eck out there. I haven't seen anybody out there that has anything to do with our city streets. And I called 2 days ago, and I got somebody in the Parks Department. And she goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, I'm talking about East Side. Where's that?
Okay, thank you. So we know that the construction over there has been difficult for the citizens over there, and we're totally aware of it. I'm sorry that there's a problem with signage. If you want, Jim can address it, or Roger. But 6th Street, is that the correct street, is going to be repaired, but there's no reason to repair it now, as you said, because it's getting so much use. So we're waiting for it to get done, the main thoroughfare and the sidewalks, and then that's going to be completed. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes with these kind of projects, just like with 4th Street down here, it's an inconvenience to a lot of us. I use 4th Street frequently, and I find myself taking other alternate routes. I do go to East Side, and I have to make the detour around. But, you know, when it's done, it'll be nice, and it'll be a safe thing for the kids. And so I apologize for the inconvenience. On the signage, I don't know, Jim, can you address that?
Well, I drove it on Friday, and I was able to negotiate. It worked fine then, but perhaps things have been rearranged since that time. But I'll be happy to take a look.
Okay.
Well, my thing too is with, and I appreciate the new school and everything with 600 kids. I came home, I couldn't get to my house tonight because traffic was backed up to East Street and the school.
Right.
Because the teachers, everything had to go into that one parking lot that has no in and outs. It's on 3rd Avenue. It's in and out. It's one in and one out.
Right. So, you know, when this is done and the school gets going and it's up and going and everything's open again, there's going to be some traffic issues. And we've talked to the school and the superintendent, Brian Trendle, and I know that things will need to be addressed and it'll be a work in progress. So that's where the school is, and it's going to create some traffic, but it's also an asset to our community. And so we're pleased about that. So I apologize again for the inconvenience. I know it is, and I just try to hold in there best you can. I can also tell you that we do have city officials over there. They don't maybe have that you're recognizable. I know Randy Dixon is checking out these projects. Want to make sure that when things get poured or things get done, he's not going to inspect these things all at once, so he does it as it goes. Am I correct, Roger?
Correct. And we also have, we have hired a construction manager for that project.
So then we have a construction manager that's separate from the city, but is a contractor for us. So we do have some personnel over there. But we will make sure that we look into the directional traffic for that, and hopefully it'll get better. So, but
I totally understand that, with the traffic jam. I bought my house not planning on living there since 1984, and I love the school, I love the kids, and I appreciate the new school. But working with the bus farm, you call them up and they hang up on you. You call them up and you ask questions, they hang up on you. And to have a traffic jam, I can't get to my house because I can't get past the left-hand turn, Boyd's Market.
right. Well, and we
This is uncalled for.
well.
There's one car parking lot.
We will see what we can do, and I can't control the school answering or not answering, you know, but as far as the city goes, we're going to try to do the best we can and rectify the traffic as soon as we get things up and going. So anyway, thank you so much for your time and your testimony. And anyone else would like to speak? If not, let's move on to the consent calendar. Council?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent calendar as presented. Are there any other comments or discussions on it? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. It passes. Next item is a semi-annual report on the Coos Bay North Bend Visitors and Convention Bureau by someone named Director Janice Langlis. And she's got a crab mask on. How you doing, Janice?
I'm good.
Tourism, one of my favorite subjects, so. And how's it doing during these times of ours?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about. So, good evening, Mayor Benetti and the council, city staff. I kind of wish I had stock in plexiglass. This is my first time in the chamber since you guys got all your fish bowls done, so I really wish we had. So, as I'm sure you guys know, this has been a really rough year. 2020 is now a four-letter word for a lot of people, and I think it's going to stay that way for a long time. One of the hardest hit industries has been the travel and tourism industry, and I'm going to show you guys some information here in a minute. First, we'll start with our budget. So when I was here in February, we were flying high. We were about to unveil our new themed campaign, the Girlfriends Getaway, and the weekend we were supposed to do that is when everything hit the fan and the state shut down. So what this is illustrating here is what we budgeted for the last fiscal year of 19 to 20. What our actuals ended up is the middle column, and then I'll talk about the new budget. But you can see we lost, if you look at just the TLT revenue line, we lost about 20% of our funding in 4 months. Most of that was in the fourth quarter, though we did lose some in the last month of the third quarter, which was March. Thankfully, Coos Bay was an essential traveler destination, so we had the construction workers and the medical professionals, the truck drivers, were mostly staying in Coos Bay, North Bend area, as opposed to other places along the coast. So as the coast and Coos County shut down lodging in a lot of places, some of our lodging got to stay open for those. So that actually helped us to still have some revenue in that fourth quarter. Without them, that would have been a bit more of a devastating blow to us, like it was to other destinations in the state. So we lost about 20% of our funding. Thankfully, we ended the fiscal year previous with more carryover. So we had a little bit of a cushion, but we did stop all of our spending, and I'll go over some of that here in a minute. But that informed our new budget for the current fiscal year, 20 to 21. I can say that we ended the last fiscal year with more of a carryover than we anticipated. We were extremely conservative in estimating 150,000 as a carryover. We ended with 295. So that has given us another little bit of breathing room, but we are expecting less, about 25 to 30% less revenue in this year, which is unfortunate, but that also meant we brought our spending down. So after 4 years of growth in our advertising marketing budget, that I was getting really proud that we were able to get that high, we have scaled down quite significantly from the 526,000, which we didn't spend last year, to 354,000 for this coming year. And the unfortunate thing is this comes off of a really good year for Coos County. So these numbers are calendar years. So for the calendar year of 2019, we saw a 4% increase in visitor spending in Coos County that went from about $268 million to $277 million. That supported 3,363 tourism jobs, which is a 1.3% increase over 2018. And we had more local tax receipts, again, almost 2%. We know that these numbers are going to go down quite a bit for 2020. But we had a really good summer with mostly sold out weekends and even some sold out midweeks. So we see a bit of a bright spot. We haven't gotten our first quarter TLT funding yet. That won't come until the first or so week of November, second week of November, because hotels have until October 31st to remit to the city. So we won't know for sure. So this has been, according to the U.S. Travel Association, the Great Travel Depression. They are expecting travel spending will drop by at least 45% by the end of 2020. From $1.13 trillion to $622 billion, and that's, of course, countrywide. This is for the U.S. We lost 8 million jobs already in the travel and tourism industry. That's almost half. That's a little over half of the tourism jobs. There's little to no international travel coming in. Almost all motor coach travel has been canceled through the rest of the year. However, we did have some good weekends. July 4th was even better than Memorial Day, which was a pretty big weekend. Destination Analytics is a tourism research firm. They have been weekly putting out data for us to see how the consumer sentiment is for travel. And when they asked how safe certain travel-related activities are perceived to be, now this is a perception by the traveler, outdoor activities, RV travel, and traveling in their personal vehicle were deemed safe, while business travel, traveling by air or cruise was deemed as not safe. Those top three are very important to us because that's what we have here, is outdoor adventure, lots of RV travel, and if you guys have been on the roads any time in the last little bit, you've seen a lot more RVs than we've seen in the past. And then we are a drive market for the most part. Yes, we have an airport, but for the most part, we are a drive market. So some key takeaways, travelers who are, who think of themselves as either early adopters or going to travel after they see how the early adopters do, want destinations within a few hours drive from home because they can get home easily. They are seeking small, mostly undiscovered destinations with fewer visitors. Chalk one up for us. Outdoor recreation is top of their list. Space to spread out is important. And of course, they're looking at destinations that are committed to their safety and the safety of their residents. So this is how we responded. When March hit, we were flying high, ready to go with our new campaign, and then the pandemic hit, and we stopped everything. We put a hold on every bit of advertising that we had out there. Anything that was in print already, of course, was in print, even though the magazine may not have come out until after the pandemic. But anything that hadn't gone out yet was held, all digital, all search engine, all social, held, until we could ascertain what we were going to do. One of the worst things for a travel marketer is to tell people not to come. It is the hardest thing to say, stay home and stay safe. But that was our messaging at the end of March and all through April, until we hit phase 1. And we were still doing the stay home, stay safe, but we were starting to show more and more activity. So before that, we were showing pretty pictures. And then we started showing more activity type things so we could get people thinking about when phase 2 hit, and we could sort of start inviting them again. And we still had to be really careful of our language because our residents didn't want these visitors bringing the disease in or the virus in. And we got a lot of pushback from our social media on that very topic. But when we got to phase 2 and we were able to start asking people to come back, what we focused on was our wide open spaces, social distancing, the great outdoors, space to spread out, adventures to invigorate. That was our tagline. So in June, we started more of those invitations, those social media, when you're ready to travel, we are here to receive you and welcome you. We started up our search engine marketing again. We began running a new 15-second ad on TV in Eugene, and then we started a test with YouTube as a pre-roll stream. And those have been doing really well, so we're going to continue that. In July, we ran a promotion with KEZI TV, which garnered 12,000 entries, so people are wanting to travel. They're just still a little scared about it. And we increased our digital, social, and more TV streaming. So this is our 15-second spot that we ran right after the beginning.
Adventure in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston. Adventures to invigorate and space to spread out. Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston, we are Oregon's Adventure Coast.
So what we were trying to show there was one person doing something with a lot of open space around them so that nobody, that people could see themselves as going, oh, okay, well, there's not a lot of people around, so I could probably go and do that. So Space to Spread Out was our campaign. We did a lot of digital, we did billboards, and a lot of social media around that. And then this was our promotion with KEZI. we did get some pushback on this, people saying, well, we don't want to travel, we don't want people coming, and it was like, yes, but this trip is good for a year, so people don't have to come right now, but we want people to start dreaming about coming back. And if anybody drove by the visitor center and saw the big imagery that we were putting on the reader board, it was to keep people thinking about, dreaming about coming. So now we're into fall, and this is our newest campaign. It's the Fall 15. These two spots that I'm going to show you have a generic version that we will run at the end of this campaign. This is a 15% off a 2-night stay at 7 of our lodging properties in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston. And after this campaign, it runs October, November. After this campaign, we'll have a generic version of these, but these are our new ads.
Space to spread out in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston. 15% savings on lodging at select properties through November. Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston. We are Oregon's Adventure Coast.
That was that one, and then there's this one.
Ready, set, adventure in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston. Enjoy 15% savings on lodging at select properties through November. Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston. We are Oregon's Adventure Coast.
So I want to talk about why we started saying we are Oregon's Adventure Coast. On our social media, we found that people were confusing us with the whole coast. And so we'd say, tell us your favorite thing to do on Oregon's Adventure Coast, and they'd tell us about stuff on Cannon Beach, or Gold Beach, or Brookings. And it was like, wait, what part of Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston didn't you get? So we've started to reinforce that with folks. So this is the rest of our campaign for the fall. A lot of digital, all of that is digital except for the bottom right, which is a billboard. And while this looks like a static billboard, this is just a mock-up. These are actually on digital billboards. We have billboards in Medford, Eugene, Roseburg, Corvallis, Salem, Albany area, and 15 of the ones that we have out there are digital. So we can change the imagery just like this. Static ones are a little bit harder to do. You've got to pay to get the sheets done and changed and stuff. So that's what we are doing right now. And then we have our mask. When the mandate first came out that they wanted people to wear masks in public places, so in public buildings, my ad team created the sign, please mask up. And I made it available to anybody. I put it out on social. We have these signs if you want to put them in your business. And people started showing up at the visitor center saying, hey, we want one of those masks. It's like, well, we don't have a mask, we have a sign. And so after about the 15th person who asked us for a mask, we decided we needed to make masks. So we made masks. They're really cute. We have sold 168 masks. We have given away about 50. And we have 400 in stock at the Coos Bay Visitor Center and 20 in stock at the North Bend Visitor Center. So after the first 200 sold out so fast, I ordered 500. And we're just going to make sure we have them. So that's what we did. So before I move on, are there any questions about what has happened since March with us? Because I have one more topic to talk about, but okay. So there is a ballot measure on your ballot for Coos County. All of the Coos County residents have to vote on this. Last year, at about this time last year, the Charleston Merchants Association approached the Coos County Commissioners and asked them to institute a lodging tax in Charleston area. And they had a very specific reason. They need a new visitor center. And they need one that's a lot more visible than the laundromat that's behind the bridge that you can't see until you've passed it. So the Merchants Association asked the county to institute this tax. Well, the county can't just institute a tax. It has to go to a vote of the people, and it has to go to a vote of the entire county, even though it only affects this one little area. And it is a prescribed area. It's from where the Coos County city limits ends on Cape Arago Loop, Cape Arago Highway, all the way to Cape Arago, from the ocean inland about to Old Seven Devils Road. So it incorporates the RV parks along Cape Arago, the motels, vacation rentals, state park, and county park. And the intention is that they will get enough money from their 30% of what they will get, the Merchants Association, to create this new visitor center. The county gets to keep 30% off the top for code enforcement and public safety. And that is predominantly going to be in Charleston, but it is for the entire county. The rest of the funds will allow Charleston to participate more with the Visitor and Convention Bureau. So for dozens of years, the VCB has included Charleston in all of our marketing without any participation from their lodging properties. So that's why this is on everybody's ballot. I just want to make sure everybody is aware that it is on the ballot. And the VCB is allowed to give factual information. If somebody has a question, they can certainly call us. They can also call the Charleston Merchants Association. So that is...
Janice, can you just clarify, this is not a tax on citizens or residentials? Can you explain?
That's correct. So this is a tax on a hotel room or a RV spot or a tent campsite or a vacation rental. So when a visitor comes and they stay in one of those spots or a tent or an RV spot, they are paying a tax on the cost of that space or the cost of that hotel room. So it is a visitor tax, basically. And
What percentage would you say is
Yeah.
paid by the visitor?
Yes, it is paid by the visitor, and anybody who travels is used to paying that kind of a tax no matter where they go.
Thank you for that clarification.
How much for the masks?
How much? So we're selling them for $8.50. Originally, we weren't making any money off of them. We sold them at cost. For what we paid for them, that's what we sold them for. But when you order 500, you get a really good discount. So now we're making a little bit off of them, but they still are $8.50, and they're really cute. I get a lot of compliments on it. So,
Awesome.
all right.
Questions? So just a few, go ahead. Anyone?
Yeah,
I was wondering what you're seeing from other communities in terms of promotion. Are we consistent with places like Roseburg or
So a
Lincoln
lot of the big cities are actually still saying don't come.
Oh.
Bend is saying don't come at all.
Yeah. Well, they've
Portland,
definitely-
of course, is still in phase one. I mean, they haven't even
Yeah.
gotten out of phase one yet. I'm not sure about Roseburg. I know that the coastal destinations are kind of half and half.
Mm-hmm.
Some are saying, yeah, you can come, but the North Coast got overrun
Yeah.
Memorial Weekend and kicked people out
Yeah.
of those communities. So, and they still kept coming.
Wow.
So, they are a little more cautious
They've got
about
a larger-
allowing or inviting. I talked to Jim from Cannon Beach at a conference I was at this past weekend, and he said they're not doing much of anything, and yet people are still coming. So,
Mhm. Yeah. They got a larger population center nearby. to pull from,
exactly. So people
makes
were
sense.
fleeing the city and going straight across.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just wondering where we're sitting in terms of.
We're sitting fairly even with a lot of destinations, being cautious about inviting people, but showing, that we have the space to spread out, that we're uncrowded, that kind of thing.
So in terms of your lodging institutions and travel or tourism-based businesses that are around here, since you guys are promoting being safe and, following guidelines, are you seeing that actually be enforced in those realms? Like, do you think that travelers who are coming here will feel safe?
I think that they are, and the travelers are actually being really good. When
Yeah.
they come into the visitor center, every one of them has a mask on before they get to the door. So I'm seeing a lot more mask wearing at the farmer's market, which early on, that wasn't a mandate and nobody had a mask on.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that people are following suit. Every time I go into a local business, everybody's got their mask on. So I believe that people are seeing that we take this seriously. Signs are all over the place as well. And I mean, we're all in this together.
Yeah,
Really.
absolutely. Well, I
So-
appreciate you putting together that little sign that businesses could put up. I know that we used it as
Yeah.
well, and I've seen it around town a bunch, so.
Yeah. And we still have more if anybody needs those too.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And yeah, I just hope that the messaging is consistent across to all of our tourism-related industries so that we are following what we're promoting, so.
Yes.
So just to follow up on that, Carmen, I know I mentioned it last meeting, but SOWEB was going around what they call a COVID Safety Ambassador Update. It's going to go on for another 2 weeks, but at this point in time, for Coos and Curry, they did 1,207 visits, and they handed out 16,000 masks. So, you know, it was very positive, and they're seeing a lot. Like I told you, I think around 90% when they walk in, most of the people are wearing masks.
Yeah.
But to follow up, you know, I think it's important to recognize what our area has done and Janice and her team has done. You know, there's some places in Portland, well, in Portland specifically, and other places, they're down 90%.
Yeah.
And so for us to be down what we are, I guess we should be grateful. I know it's not where we want to be by any means,
No.
but we're lucky to have the coast and the outdoor activities that we do have. Also, there's other promotional entities, TSOC being one of them, and it was brought up that you mentioned Whiskey Run Bike Run. They had, what, 10,000 visitors? That, and we haven't even promoted that yet.
Yeah. So Whiskey Run has already seen 10,000 visitors.
Yeah.
I can see that. It's a phenomenal asset to
It
our
is a
area.
phenomenal
I
asset. That's
think
why we
that-
did that spot.
And there's been, it's going to expand out, they're expanding it, doing another piece of it. So
Yeah, we're almost done. 7
they're-
miles and we'll be done with
Yeah.
the construction.
So it'll be the
Wonderful.
third phase.
I
Yeah.
think that is a very valuable asset to this area and maybe a great model for the city to follow at some point if we want to put bike trails in somewhere.
I would agree. The only last thing I want to mention and remind everybody is that every event for 2020 got canceled. So that would be what we would normally be promoting at this time. You know, we'd already start promoting holiday lights, and so there's, you know, without holiday lights, we have come up with a new program. It's called Christmas at the Coast, and we're asking residents to light up their houses, businesses to light up their businesses, and we're going to put out some sort of promotion around driving around, staying in your car, but driving around and seeing all the Christmas lights on the coast.
Wonderful.
So you'll be hearing more about that soon.
I really like your messaging. I think everything is on point, so.
Thank you.
It's very good.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else?
I really
Roger?
appreciate the update, because it's been a very, you know, trial and error. Tumultuous
Yes.
year, and I know it's difficult, and I know you're walking a fine line, and I appreciate, you know, I appreciate that you are careful in that, in that messaging, because I think it's important, and I think that it's important that you're here telling the public that you understand.
Yeah.
But
Well,
also,
we learned new vocabulary this year. Pivot. We've pivoted several times. New normal. We have a new normal every day, so.
and then one other thing, just to piggyback on your Christmas lights, the Coos Bay Downtown Association is going to be doing a light up downtown as part of, you know, just kind of to piggyback on that, to encourage our businesses through downtown area, and I'm hoping that North Bend will follow suit. So when people come into town, we can welcome them and then just spread the light everywhere. I think this is going to be the bright spot for 2020.
Yeah, I hope so as
unintended.
well, yeah. And we'll have the tree at the visitor center, and I know North Bend will have their tree, even if we aren't able to do the traditional tree lighting ceremonies, we'll still have our Christmas cheer.
Great.
Roger?
I was just going to mention, as your representative to the VCB board, I wanted to share with you that we just completed Janice's 3rd review. So
Wow.
she's been here 3 years.
Wow.
And I can say without a doubt that she received a glowing evaluation. I think the overall rating was outstanding, and it's clear to see that she's very adaptive, she's resilient, and extremely creative, and we're blessed to have you as our executive director.
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, and she's part of our community and a citizen, has a home here. She's involved in more than just the VCB, so, yeah,
Yes.
it's great.
Thank
So
you.
you
bought
don't
a
work a
house,
day
so
in your
she's gotta
life if
stay
you love
here
what
a
you're
while.
doing, so
Yeah.
I love what I'm doing.
Well,
Thank you.
we appreciate you.
Yep,
Thank you.
thanks for what you do, Janice.
How do I stop saying? Sorry, Nicole.
And Nicole, since you're there, can you have something to wipe the mic down?
I did.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is going to be a public hearing to consider a proposed solid waste franchise rate adjustment. Let's see, let's get, very good, squared away here. Who's handling this? Jim, are you? The
I can take care of this one.
franchise, well, Nicole, okay, Roger?
Yes, recently, and actually annually, we receive a request for a rate increase for the solid waste or the garbage pickup service. Our city, like many other cities, franchises out solid waste. We do it for several reasons. Most particularly is to limit the number of heavy trucks on our residential streets. We currently have a franchise agreement with 2 organizations, and they divide up the city to do this. Part of this franchise agreement also then, we have, or you as the council have the ability to review rate requests and to regulate those rates as you see fit. Both Coos Bay Sanitation and Leslie Sanitation has a long history of coming in and requesting less than the annual CPI. I think traditionally they request 75% of the previous year's consumer price index rate increase. And that's what you have before you today. If you were to approve the requested rate increase, it would result in 43 cents per month for the average 35-gallon residential rate user. Of course, it is more for the larger customers that use commercial. We did provide you a rate comparison so that you had the ability to look at what are other jurisdictions paying their solid waste haulers, and you'll find that we're pretty much comparable. We will probably be the exact same as North Bend. You're going before the North Bend for the same rate increase, I believe, at your next meeting.
It was actually at the last meeting.
So you will now come up to the same rate as North Bend.
So, Bill, did you want to make any comments?
Sure, yeah. Evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, like Roger said, we are asking for 75% of the CPI, which is 1.9%. The CPI of 2019 was 2.5. And on the commercial side of things, it's 55 cents per cubic yard and 43 cents per 35-gallon cart. And that's including recycling also for commercial and residential. So that's included in this price.
Seems reasonable.
Any comments for, or questions for the staff or Bill? Okay, thank you, Bill.
Bill, I actually have a comment.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for the brush pickup service that you guys provide.
Yeah.
I used that this year for the first time in several years, and I was wildly impressed at the job they did. You couldn't even tell I had any brush out there after they left.
I've been in Bandon all week doing it myself. My thumb's like really sore from running the control. And Bandon has like a lot of brush, a lot more than you would think. It's like
A lot of gorse.
a lot of gorse, a lot of bull pine,
Yeah.
but and a lot of wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of sun today. I got sunburned. Other than that, no. Like I say, we're happy to, to be the provider for the garbage service in this city. We're very pleased with the way we can work with them. And by the way, I need to apologize for Dan Jensen. He called me earlier today, and he has a cough, and he did not want to come. And I said, well, I think that's probably a good idea.
Yep, we appreciate him staying away.
So anyway, so he does apologize for that.
Thank you, Bill.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Any public, okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing on this. So the public hearing is open to consider a proposed solid waste franchise rate adjustment. So this would be the time, if you have a comment, to come forth and make it. So does anyone like to make a comment on this? No? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move we adopt Resolution 2026 approving an adjustment in the collection rates for solid waste collection franchise holders.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 20-26. Any comments? I just want to make one, we've had, as you've mentioned, Bill, we've had a great relationship with our two carriers, and it's wonderful that it's like this, and so I look forward to continuing on. Anyway, anyone else? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, public hearing for adoption of fiscal year 2020, 20-21 supplemental budget. Nicole?
Thank you. As we closed out this last year and are nearly finished with the city's audit, we kind of evaluated our carryover balances as we expected we might have ended last year with, which brings us into this year. And happy to say, I guess, I'd like to be closer with my estimations, but many of them, we had a little bit more carryover than originally anticipated with our budget. So this supplemental budget, the majority of these changes are due to that carryover difference. There are some additional kind of elements that are in here. I'm sure you guys have all seen the canine campaign that's been happening, working towards getting another canine officer to come in and work with our department. So the funding we've received from donations and their things, that's part of this also, so that we have the authority to then purchase that new member of our department, should they find one. Also, we've received some CARES funding over the last several months, so we're going to give some appropriation authority for those funds. Essentially just kind of making sure that this excess revenue that we have access to, should we need it.
Questions for Nicole on this item? No? All right, so I'll open up the public hearing for the adoption of this fiscal year 2020-2021 supplemental budget. So does anyone want to make a comment? This would be the time on this item. Anyone? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And council, how would you like to proceed?
I move that we approve the proposed supplemental budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 20-27. Any other comments by anyone? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. We're at the city manager's report. Roger. Wait, did I skip something? No?
No.
Okay. Oh, we got a
Technical difficulty.
PowerPoint.
See when it gets up there.
All right.
It's on my screen.
It's got a long ways to go.
Well, for some reason, it's not going up there, but I still can go through it. I wanted to share with the council that the History Museum is celebrating Coos History 2020. They've now been open for 5 years. Part of what they're going to be doing this weekend is doing a burning of the mortgage, and then receiving a report. And I know the mayor is participating in that. I think it must be an exciting time for the mayor, because he was on the council when that property was first obtained, with the whole goal of putting that museum there, and it took several years to mitigate all the environmental issues or concerns or actual land ownership from Division of State Lands, then to take down the building, and then to convey that property in a manner that would limit the liability to the History Museum. And then they went through their fundraising and building, so it's nice to see a plan come together.
A little follow-up on that. So as Roger mentioned, we went through and we were able to acquire the property from the county for back taxes at a very reasonable price, but we thought it was for what it was. And so John Woody was involved in this. And so John came before the council, and I know Nate might have been around, and I said, all right, John, I said, great, now you can have the property. He goes, wait a minute, we're not ready yet. You have to make sure they want all the environmental issues taken care of and all this done. And, yeah, so we had a lot more to get done for them. And that continued on past my term as mayor at that time. And I think Jeff and McEwen and the council at that time took care of it. And you probably finalized it, didn't you not, Roger?
Yes.
Yeah, so it took a little bit of time. And so John finally accepted it. And they went out and continued on with their fundraising and got the money to build it. So anyway, it'll be nice to do that if you can.
And I would point out that Jim Hosley did the lion's share of the background work to get that, those environmental issues taken care of, to take the building down and to get it ready for that transfer.
Yeah, and you were dealing with the state too, on state land issues too.
There was a bit of issues on who actually owned how much of that lot.
Right.
But that did get resolved. At your last meeting, we talked about housing. That was a major topic, and we talked about given the need for housing in the future and the possibility of incentivizing housing development. The agency, the Urban Renewal Agency, had talked about possibly implementing a new urban renewal zone to help incentivize housing. And we discussed that actually there's a large amount of undeveloped property in the east side area that already falls within the Coos Bay Urban Renewal Zone. And if you could actually see the PowerPoint, you would see a map on what that looks like, and I can obviously show Councilor Miles. But the majority of that northern tip is in the urban renewal zone, and it's already zoned for low-density residential. Before we go too far and explore a new urban renewal zone, I would just like your concurrence. I'd like to reach out to the port who owns all that property, and if they're so inclined to see it through, I mean, they are the ones that actually asked for this zoning years ago, see this through, then I think maybe what we could come back is a proposal to undertake master planning of that property through the urban renewal zone and with the port to see it developed. If you're so inclined, my next step would be to reach out to the port to see if that's what they want to do. They have had a change in philosophy over there. They don't like selling their property. They like to lease it out so they have control on what goes in there, but the majority of that property is commercial or industrial. And if they're so inclined, we can move forward. If they're not, then I think it's back to the drawing board and seeing what other opportunities there are for you.
I hope they would. I sat on the council, and it was an industrial zone at that time, and they asked for it to be changed from industrial to low-density housing. So, and it just never moved forward after that. I know there's a lot of discussions and how to build a road in there and make accessibility. So I would hope that maybe they would be willing or inclined this time to move forward. I think it's a good spot. It's a large piece. I think it would be a very attractive spot to have housing over there. And so, yeah.
Close to a school.
Yeah,
Something
definitely
to
close to
consider,
school.
though, is the traffic impact as we do that, because if we're proceeding forward, we've already heard tonight.
Yep.
I had kids that attended Millicoma, and it was really tough to get into town during certain parts of the day.
Yep.
And get out of town and get into town.
You know,
Yeah. That bridge.
Yeah.
Pardon, yeah. I mean, with all due respect to, the city addressed this with Brian Trundle in the school district about traffic.
Yeah.
So when they built that there. And they said that they had addressed it and figured it out. So I'm hoping it works.
Yeah.
It is a work in progress, and I know our police staff went over shortly after the school opened to try and figure out how to help them. And part of it was just the practice on how some parents were showing up extremely early and then tying up the entry and exit and then forcing all the cars out into the street and a backup. But that's going to be a work in progress. I know at your last meeting there was a request for an update on or traffic impact analysis. As you might remember, when the schools went out over there and they changed that street, they began going a different route, and they began going down onto B Street and then down onto First Street to exit. And that was a new route, and First Street was never designed for buses. It has no sidewalks, and the road is in poor condition. Our traffic impact analysis has been greatly hampered by COVID-19. It's very difficult to get traffic counts when the school's not open, and now that the school is open, it's only partially open. But we anticipate, or at least what was reported to me, that we anticipate having that traffic impact analysis here within a couple weeks. We've already identified that probably First Street is the right route, so we don't want to swing the buses back into the line of traffic. So we anticipated that First Street's going to need some upgrading, and that's been budgeted for this next year with TUF funds. So that should be coming back to you relatively shortly.
So is everyone in agreement on moving forward with at least inquiring about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you an update on the, speaking of housing, on the former Inglewood school site. We are still just in the environmental review process. Because the funds we're using does have a nexus to federal funds, it has to go through the entire federal review. And while we thought that we had finished that and got concurrence out of the National Marine Fisheries, they requested some additional information, and it went back into review. But once that's completed, then we'll go through the contracting process and secure a contractor, get it cleaned up. And tomorrow, actually, we're having our first meeting with ORCA to begin talking about that future development of that site into low-income housing.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
I was really going to show you a nice little graphic, spent a little time on it. I don't do streets as well as Johnson Rock does, but I have this nice picture of what a street would look like if they had done it.
It looks very nice.
Yeah. But we are waiting on the street to get finished, Front Street. And basically it was a timing and coordination issue with their engineer and their contractor. I am happy to report, though, that the design has been approved for the intersection, and we actually have an agreement with all of the parties. That would be ODOT, ODOT Rail, the port, and the city on that, on responsibilities for that intersection. We should be in the bidding process currently for a contractor, or at least Coos Bay Village is, and they should be awarding here in more than a month. And hopefully we'll see some work on that site probably beginning of the year.
Great.
Wonderful.
So are they going to be able to have access in and out of the Coos Bay Village before the light comes?
They will. They will not be able to open any additional businesses other than the 3 first buildings until the light comes in. And that's based on the traffic impact analysis. They'll be able to go in off of Hemlock and go down Front Street. Front Street will remain 2 ways until the new intersection goes in, and they'll go in off of what was Greenwood. And they'll have to circle around in there and then come back out.
So how long do we anticipate the process with the light to be, for bid, construction, and are we looking at 6 months, 2 months, a year?
Well, I would say the soonest would probably be the spring.
Okay. All right.
And that concludes my report.
All right, great. All right, now to council comments. Drew.
So last week we had the LOC conference online. Definitely the best lunch I've had at one of those. I've got to cook for myself. We had the opportunity to present on creative housing solutions. Roger carried me on that one a great deal, but we both presented a slideshow on what Coos Bay has done. We were selected by the LOC out of 240 cities in Oregon to be the ones presenting on creative housing strategies. So that speaks a lot to the work our staff has done and what we've achieved as a city in these last 3 to 4 years. The first half of that time frame was actually brought on by Medford talking about the shelter solutions they've developed for homeless folks. And there were a lot of good ideas in there, and they indicated that they have a model ready to go, packaged and for distribution. So that's definitely something I would like us to look at. I'm aware of 2 different entities within our region that are looking at the development of shelters and options for that. I don't think any of those have put them out publicly, so I won't name them, but there's that. The comments of the lights around town. Now I'm trying to figure out how to rig up my carpet truck and my day job with lights. It's got its own battery, so I think we can do it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to thank the police department for, over the last week, my office has had a malfunctioning security alarm. They've responded every time in a timely manner. We figured out it was a spider walking in front of the sensor. So that's, yep, that's what it's
See,
been.
those are bad things.
I know.
Spiders are bad.
Spooky.
But yeah, that's my comments.
All right, thank you, Drew. Carmen?
Well, I was gonna check in on the progress of the light, so that was really exciting to hear that all parties have signed off on the light for Front Street there in the Coos Village. That's exciting. But speaking of streets, I have my warehouse for my business on the corner of Bennett and 5th Street, which is really near the 4th Street reconstruction that's going on. And I've noticed some issues in the roadbed right there. It's right where the vault for Mingus and Blossom Creek drainage goes right in front of my warehouse there. And so there's been some issues, and my approach to my warehouse is in complete disrepair. So we're going to be repairing that soon. And I was wondering about if we could get 5th Street on that radar for next year, maybe. I realize funding is already set up for this year, and we've got plenty of stuff to work on, but there is a decent crater in the middle of the street there. I've chatted with Roger and Randy and several times, so it sounds like it is something that we can look at, but I wanted to bring it up formally as a potential hazard for traffic in that area and relationship to the drainage for both Mingus and Blossom Creek. I think it'll be a good thing for us to focus on. I'm not sure if this is the proper time to bring it up, but wanted to throw it out there. Also, I wanted to give an update on the lending library that we approved a little while ago.
Right.
My wife wanted to say thank you for approving it. She was really excited. It's now installed. Randy Dixon and John Eck identified a location, and I went down there to set the posts, and it was the site of an old tree, so there's tons of roots. And so we went to another spot which already had a post, which was perfect. So it is up now. I wish I had a picture. I would share it with you, but it's right near the playground, the main playground, right next to the pond there at Mingus Park. And we've been watching people come up and take books on a regular basis every day, and Annie's struggling to keep up with the stocking of the books. I think they're going out right now, and they haven't had a chance to come back yet. So if anybody has any books that they'd like to share with the community, focusing on children's books, maybe bring them down and check out the new lending library at Mingus Park. And just wanted to remind everybody once again to vote. That's it.
Very good. Thank you. Phil?
Just a couple of things. I was gonna actually, I talked to Roger earlier. I was gonna make some comments about East Side and the construction over there, but our public comments took care of a lot of that. I go over there quite a bit, so actually there is somebody from the city that takes a look on a regular basis, and I really don't understand some of the why of why the detour has to be where it is. I brought this up a couple of meetings ago. 9th Street is taking, 9th Avenue is taking a beating, and it's in really, really bad shape, and a lot of traffic on it. But I just don't understand why the detour has to be so far away from where the actual work is happening. And I'm no traffic engineer and I'm no expert, but it just seems to me like if they were to move the detour a little bit closer, then the Bigfoot beverage trucks could get in and out easier without having to take the detour and beat up our residential streets with those big old trucks. So I asked Roger this evening if he could have Jim look into it and find out why it's taking so long and why they have to continue the detour to where it is, because it just doesn't make sense to me. So that, I'll kind of leave it at that. And I'm really happy with the way that work is progressing on 4th, but it's one of those where you really wish it would happen sooner. But, you know, I'm excited to see what the final product is going to be there. I'm really looking forward to that being finished and making downtown a nicer, easier place to travel with 4th Street being done the way it is. And that's pretty much all I have.
All right, thanks, Phil. Stephanie?
I have excuse me, I have a few things. I already talked about the light up downtown, so we're hoping that businesses out there will start thinking about decorating their windows, just being a welcome. The initial contact that was made with downtown businesses through the Downtown Association was received very well about the holidays. I think people are looking for something to brighten up 2020, and like I said, I really think this is going to be a positive end to what has been a very interesting year. And so I hope that it's something that people can get into and start planning for. And I think yours, Janice, kicks off Thanksgiving and runs through just, yes. So, you know, it'll be a lot of fun. The Downtown Association is also working on some COVID-friendly, COVID-safe activities for the tree lighting and Santa. Of course, the Egyptian Theater is not going to be open probably until the spring, so we won't be showing Elf this year, but we will be doing some sort of a drive-by Santa event, and maybe something including a story time involving some reindeer who are lost in downtown, so stay tuned for that. This weekend, when you're done at the celebration at the Coos History Museum, the Backpack for Kids project that is done by the Seroptimists every year is happening at the Bi-Mart stores from 10 to 2. They're collecting items for kids who are taken from drug-affected homes, and it is surprising the number of children that end up in foster care that need that. They're taken a lot of times in the middle of the night with basically their clothes on their back, and these backpacks that the Seroptimists put together and distribute through Department of Human Services are a lifesaver for the families that receive those children. It usually includes a toy, comfort. They're taken out of everything that's familiar to them. So if you can donate, I know it's tough this year, drop off something, personal hygiene products, stuffed animals, maybe a book, whatever you can do. They will be accepting that at both the Coos Bay and North Bend Bi-Mart stores.
What day was that again?
Saturday.
Saturday.
From 10 until 2. And then I wanted to really commend Roger and Drew for the housing presentation that they did at the League of Oregon Cities. As Drew said, we co-chair the homeless work group. I'm hoping that we can maybe initiate those meetings again. We haven't because of COVID for a while, but I think we have a lot that is happening in the community, and we need to pick up those discussions, and some of those things are that Medford presented would be great topics for our community. And then I don't know if we can talk about anything with the church parking lot. but I know that I had been getting some calls about that. Can you tell us what's happening there?
Certainly. We began receiving some calls late last week when people observed 3 tents or 4 tents that appeared on the church parking lot. And as the council may remember, we did allow the church to do what I guess is now being termed as urban camping project. It got a little out of control for the church, and the church decided to shut it down. When we received information that there were new tents at the location, we were somewhat surprised. I was under the assumption that the pastor was out of town and somebody had moved in on him. I spoke to Pastor Ford today, and I know that Officer Babb has also talked with Pastor Ford about it. What we've learned is that there was actually 4 individuals that weren't required to leave because of their situation. Their tents were previously located in an area that was not easily seen from the road, but there's no new people there, just those 4 people haven't left. He shared their situation with me, which I've taken the liberty of sharing with you. One person is waiting to get into an open bed at a treatment facility. Another person is a victim of a family sexual assault from another area, and this is the one place she has. He is working with her, and we've given him additional information on other services in town that might help for her. And there are 2 other people that currently don't have a place to go. One of them is serving as their security person and is keeping other people from moving in. They are providing both bathroom and garbage services for them currently. We have advised them that they will need to go through the permitting process and follow the ordinance, and that's what we'll be doing with them.
Okay, I appreciate the update. And we're talking about the Methodist Church at the top of Central. But I think it's important that the community knows that this is, this is a serious issue that we have to face in this community. We're not alone. And hopefully we can deal compassionately as we proceed forward. We have a lot of people that have come to our area that were displaced by the wildfires. I just heard from somebody yesterday. And so it is a difficult issue on a great day, and it's even more difficult now with people who have been out of work because of COVID and because of being displaced from other natural disasters. And so I think the timing is right to reinstate our work group meetings if we can do that, and maybe talk about those things. And that's pretty much all I had to say.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Rob?
The Community Coalition of Empire has a new website, so they'd like everybody to like that page. And at their next meeting on November 19th at 6 p.m., Dr. John Bacon from the Small Business Development Center will be their guest speaker via Zoom. He's going to provide information on some grant opportunities for small businesses. You can find the Zoom link on their Facebook page, or contact Joanne Moss, and I'm sure she'll send you the link. Also, on December 4th, they're doing the Empire tree lighting. They're going to do it virtually. They're going to film it and air it on their Facebook page. And we've been working with Chief Anderson and the fire department. Rather than bringing Santa Claus to the tree lighting, they're going to tour the neighborhoods and hand out gifts to kids in Empire, and then drop Santa off so that he can light the tree. So thank you to the fire department for that. And I also did the League of Oregon Cities conference, and Roger and Drew did a great job in their presentation, I thought. And I also would like to discuss further the opportunities that Medford has taken advantage of. However, my lunch was not as good as yours, Drew.
I didn't get lunch, so you guys are all better.
I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Rob. I didn't either. I was at, I'll just follow up. I also agree with the counselors that attended the League of Oregon Cities virtually, and you're right, it's pretty good. It wasn't as good as being in person by any means, and interacting with other counselors throughout the state. But Drew and Roger did an excellent job presenting. And I also think that Medford has some very innovative ideas. They talked about tiny homes, a Hope Village, surplus property, urban campgrounds. I mean, they had a variety of different things. And so I think it's something that we need to do. As Stephanie mentioned, homelessness is a huge problem. There's many times people ask me, what are we doing about it? We need to do something about it. Well, we are doing something about it. I wish we had the magic answer. And as people, I'd love to get them involved and come up with some ideas. And it is an issue that we need to deal with. And hopefully we can get the work group back together and start discussing this. But, it's going to be something that we have to deal with on multiple levels. It's not just one fix it all. There's the mental aspect of it besides having some housing for them, and it just goes on. Since the church quit allowing the camping up there, the urban camping as we call it now, I got some complaints about them going into Mingus Park and, the children being, not wanting them taken there because they're, feared that it's not a safe spot for them. So we need to definitely do that. The other thing that I want to mention along the same lines, I see our resource officer, Officer Babs, out and about. Today I saw him take a homeless person out of his vehicle and assist them, and they're going at the Tioga building. I'm not sure what they were doing there or not, but I'm sure that this is something that he was helping accommodate that person, and he does that type of thing on a regular basis. He's the right person definitely for it. It's something that he's passionate about, and this is the position we wanted to fill for some time, and now we have someone there, and I think we have the right person. Anyway, besides that, I think that's about it. Oh, farmers market. We have 2 more farmers market weeks, and so try to take advantage of it if you can. I also like to just mention that I'm pleased with these difficult times. I see the Downtown Association and our coalition, DCB, being creative in what they're doing. So trying to make things as best they can for our citizens. Okay, that's it for me and the council comments. The only thing I want to know is, do we want to go in executive session or go to urban renewal and then come back?
We can go to urban renewal and come back.
Okay, so I'll postpone us on the executive session, and then we'll go into urban renewal. And I would appreciate to say thank you for everyone attending here in person and virtually. So yeah, thanks again. Stephanie.
So I will go ahead and call the City of Coos Bay Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order. And our first item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anyone who would like to make a public comment? Then we will move to the next item, which is the consent calendar, and how do the agency board members wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the award of contract for the Newmark Bank Stabilization Project. And Jim, are you handling this?
Yes, ma'am, I've got this, thank you. The agency contracted with the engineering firm KPFF to design a seawall along the western edge of Newmark Avenue, just north of the Hollering Place parcel and near the boat building center. They designed a rock revetment as a retaining wall, and with those plans, they put those a set of plans together to build that and advertised it for bid earlier this fall. And we had 5 bids come in. The low bid is Johnson Rock for the amount of $135,246. The engineer's estimate was $145,900. The engineer is recommending that the agency award the contract to Johnson Rock for the bid amount. And staff is recommending that the agency award the bid to Johnson Rock with a 15% contingency. And then also, as we were doing design exploration, we did come across some contaminated soils. We believe the design is such that we won't encounter those, but if we do, we recommend pre-approval of an additional $10,000 in case we have to deal with those contaminated soils.
One question, Stephanie. Also, in this, it mentions that to change the time frame from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. time frame for this so they can work on it. Is that something that needs, that we're just going to go ahead and approve, correct?
Yes, that's what we're recommending, that you approve that, those 2 different weeks.
Right.
Because those are king tide weeks.
Correct, yeah.
And then, because of this creative, I think it's a creative design, this rock revetment, we're able to save dollars over what we thought the project was going to cost. And so we had originally thought we were going to have a over $700,000 project. And it looks like once the project's complete, we may have half of that amount still unspent.
The allowance for the contaminated soils, that's something that came up after the estimate from the engineers?
Yes.
Okay. Any
That's
other
not-
questions for Jim? I noticed that Courtney's here. If you have any questions from Johnson Rock? No questions? All right. Do you have any comments? What action would you like to take?
I'll make the motion to approve the award of the Newmark Bank Stabilization Project to Johnson Rock for $135,246 with a 15% contingency of $20,287 and an allowance of $10,000 should contaminated soils be encountered, for a total approval amount of $165,533, and to also approve the contractor's request to perform night work the week of December 14th, 2020 and January 11, 2021.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the Newmark Bank Stabilization Project to Johnson Rock Products. And that is for an approval amount of, I'm not going to go through all the numbers, for a total of $165,533, and to approve the contractor's request to perform night work. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
And
you.
with that, we are adjourned.
All right, so we're back in the regular session for the Coos Bay City Council. We're going to go into executive session. We will not be coming out of executive session